It didn't take long for Yuri to get the best end. Like, we'll just call it there. The series is over. What a great ending. What a fantastic series. It ends on Yuri literally being alone with Comet. They get to be Gnosia together forever. Just exploring the galaxy. And apparently the ship never blowing them up, question mark? That is kind of suspicious, isn't it? Like, I didn't actually think about that when I ended the episode. Like, wait, why didn't the ship blow up? I mean, the ship should assume that the remaining ones are Gnosia. They just consumed the last of the humans. Why wouldn't it blow up? I mean, the whole idea of the ship holding off is the fact that normally it's supposed to blow up, but they had an agreement to this whole system. Again, it goes back to the fact that I think the ship is doing all this. Like, this whole thing is all an experiment being done by the ship itself to see what they would do in this scenario. But anyways, yes, episode 9 of Gnosia, really fantastic episode. It didn't turn out to be what I was expecting it to be from the previous episode. I was assuming it was going to be like everybody's Gnosia in this world. I mean, Comet says that. Welcome to the world of Gnosia. It was cool, though, because it's sort of welcoming us into the world of Gnosia. That, yes, in this episode, Yuri is a Gnosia, and he's working alongside Comet and Shaming. Yeah, Shaming. Forgot Shaming was a part of them. Poor dude got sold out. The moment that Comet, the moment she spoke up, I'm like, oh yeah, she just sold him out. Just like that, sold the poor guy out. Oh, that was so bad that she said the same exact thing and confirmed it. And then Shaming's like, kowtow, off to the freezer. I'm like, oh man, that's so bad. But yes, very fascinating episode. Let's just get into it. Opening up with, yes, Comet waking him up, saying that they're, Gnosia, Shaming as well. Hey, we got to get over here and get to work. Oh yeah, by the way, I suck at lying. If you have to, just leave me be. I'm so bad at this. I'm totally gonna rat us out and screw everything up. But yes, they go to the meeting. They find out that apparently they already know that there's 3 Gnosia. That they have an engineer, they have guardians, and they also have the doctor. So they have all the classes set up, and they only, of course, want to reveal the engineers, which is SQ is apparently the engineer, but Comet is supposed to jump in and claim that she is as well. Now, while the suspicion is building up, Yuri kind of steps in order to misdirect it. Now, here was an interesting thing, and I'm not sure if this is a lost in translation thing, but I love how Shigemichi speaks up and says that, hey, how do we choose somebody when we don't really have much information to go off of? And I love how Yuri speaks up in his own mind, or he's thinking about the fact that, yeah, he's right. We don't really have much to work on. And I'm like, wait, is Yuri in his mind at this moment trying to figure out who the Gnosia is? I really feel like it was like just a basic instinct. Like, he's supposed to be doing this. Yeah, I've done this so many times that I'm trying to figure out who the Gnosia is when he already knows who the Gnosia is. I don't know. I think that might have been a loss in translation. It could have just been specifically him saying, yeah, overall, the meeting, nobody really has anything to work off of to find us, technically. But I did get a little laugh out of that when that was kind of brought up. I'm like, he's still playing the role as a human. I mean, there's a lot in this episode about essentially Yuri having to fight with himself. Wait, I'm doing a really good job of lying, and I'm lying to humans. Like, is this the right thing to do? I feel like they could have done a lot more with that, but I think they did enough. Yuri sort of being conflicted. I think it just really does come down to, I still have to play my role. But no, I do love this entire segment because I do love seeing the opposite side. And again, I was assuming eventually we were going to have a Gnosia sequence. Essentially, rather than trying to figure out who the Gnosia is, figuring out how to make the humans get off the scent. It's just flipping the entire script, and I love it. But Yuri basically pushes the idea once again of not freezing one of the engineers, and that all leads to them freezing poor Gina. Gina's just a casualty in the room. But this is interesting because, yes, we bring up once again Gina's perspective on the Gnosia that they talked about before, where whenever Gnosias attack, it seems to disconnect the spirit from the body. And she says it here. I'd rather go to freeze myself rather than be eliminated by the Gnosia. Rather than abandoning my body while my soul goes off to somewhere who knows where, I'd rather die. And we got to get a little bit of that with Atome later on. But before then, of course, we have SQ showing up at the room. Saying you're looking out for me. Thank you for helping me. It shot straight to my heart. Hey, by the way, I'm an engineer. Who do you think I should actually watch? And I like this because Yuri has a little brief moment where he's fighting over humanity and Gnosia. That she's trusting me. I could totally feed into this and take advantage of her and force her to track somebody that I want her to track. I can utilize this to my advantage. But he chooses instead to go the route to being human, which is interesting because I was actually expecting her to possibly check him because he basically pushes her away and say, we shouldn't trust each other because one of us could be a Gnosia. And so I kind of figured, okay, what was the chance of her going off, checking him, and then going, okay, I checked you, you're not Gnosia or whatever. Well, we're going to find out he's Gnosia. But her to check him specifically in order to get around that, if she actually does legitimately like him and she's not trying to manipulate him. I mean, it can go both ways here. But yes, we have the warp sequence, which this was really, really cool. Getting to finally see exactly what they're doing here. And I was actually questioning this for the longest time because whenever they warp, even though there's multiples of the Gnosia, they only ever kill one person. So I always kind of questioned, why is that the case? Because, hey, if there's 3 Gnosia, they can each go to a room and kill somebody. Why they all have to go to one? Well, the answer is in this whole thing and the idea that it seems like they do some sort of ritual. That yes, when the whole time stops, they start walking around, they start hanging out with each other, and then at that point they decide who they want to kill, and they all go to that individual. And of course, Shaming brings up the idea once again of Atome, which this does fit into his character. As we've seen with the first episode that we had Shaming, he was stuck on the idea that Atome was essentially just a lab experiment. Why do you want to go back there? You're just going to be a lab experiment again. And Atome was like, no, I like them. They treat me really well. The scientists, they treat me really well. And he's like, no, you're a lab experiment. And here it's like the Gnosia are coming together not to say, who do we kill to get an advantage? Who do we hate? Oh yeah, I don't like this one because they looked at me wrong. Or this one's getting on to me. Let's take them out. No, it seems like he's choosing based off of essentially what would be the most humane. And again, that does play into the idea that Shaming, even though he is a Gnosia, he's adopting Shaming into his mindset. And Shaming sees this as a mercy kill. That Atome is just going to go back to the lab and get experimented on. Let's just put her out of her misery now. That's an interesting thing. It's an interesting thing that it's not turning into simply let's kill to kill. Or kill to get a benefit. Or kill to get an advantage. Now, I can see probably some other ones as Gnosia would probably do that. If Ratio is a Gnosia, he's probably going to be very calculative about who he chooses. Who would be the most advantageous for me to choose? I can see all of them choosing in their own way. And it's not simply a Gnosia mindset. It's what each individual would want to do. So it's really cool. But they all go in there and they do some sort of ritual. And it seems like it sort of kicks up time again. At least around where Atome is. It seems like time continues on there. And then slowly over time, she's being absorbed or turned to dust and then dragged in some sort of void before time and that space goes back to being frozen. It's very interesting. And again, they all seem to be kind of like all warped up in this idea of being Gnosia. Their eyes are all crazy. They got like, it looks like a little bit of bloodshot going on in them. I made the joke, if it looks like the Gnosia are all hanging around just getting high on dolphin dust. They all look like they're all getting high off this. They're all into it. They're all into it. And as this entire thing's going on, Shaming's talk about the idea of what would be better to have it all in like this, where you don't even know it's happening, or having something come after you. Would you prefer this right here where you're asleep during warp, or would you rather be attacked after the last person is frozen? That kind of mentality there. It was a little twisted. It was a little twisted, especially since Yuri's like, oh, so this is how it is. This is what you do when you're infected. Yuri just kind of going along with it. Oh, Atome? Why Atome? Oh, because, yeah, they're going up there. Well, okay, let's do it. Like, at no point does Yuri really stop. And again, he does recall back to what Setsu said, or at least the Gnosia Setsu said, yes, this is technically everybody's one loop. But additionally, do this as if, go as far as you can. Play your role. Do what you need to do. It's all for the sake of this key, but additionally, those that are around you, this is their world. And I do believe that a lot of this has to do with Yuri sort of understanding the Gnosia more. Like, he's talking to, Comet. He's talking to these individuals. He's seen that the Gnosia themselves have their own lives as well. They're fulfilling a role as well. Despite the fact that they seem like they're evil, they're technically killing humans. They're overtaking human bodies, but they're also their own beings that are fulfilling that role. It's interesting how quickly he gets swept up in it. And I do kind of wonder, and they didn't really specify too much, I do kind of wonder how much of Yuri is still in there in these moments. Whenever his eyes go red, is it really even Yuri anymore? It's super fascinating. I loved it. But yes, I do kind of wonder if that whole dragging up of Atome into that little void Kind of, is that what Gina's talking about? That theory that when the Gnosia kill people, that their spirit is separated. So if somebody's infected, does their body remain behind, unlike Atomi right here? Does their body remain behind and their spirit goes off in that little void that was there? I wonder. It's just in this case, when they're killing them during the warp, the body disappears as well. I don't know. With that said, though, Xiaoming says that they're going to have a doctor the next day, and he's going to speak up as well. And Comet is wondering what they should do with their report. At this point, Yuri's like, hey, if you suck at saying lies, then tell the truth. Pick somebody that you know is a human and say they're human. Whereas that totally backfires. But no, before then, though, yes, he does question, why do you want to win as a Gnosia? Why wouldn't you just want to lose? And Comet goes in the idea that, yes, back at her home planet, at least Comet was, back at her home planet, they had him, put inside caves, and they had to essentially survive the whole slime thing that talked about before when they first introduced Comet. But yes, Comet's dream was to go off into space. And yeah, it was a little difficult to get off the planet, but she wants to fulfill that role. Again, the Gnosia, even though taking over Comet's body, wants to fulfill Comet's dream because it's still something of a desire. It's something they are now experiencing, is that desire to go off into space. So yeah, they go off to the meeting, and again, totally screw up. Comet Setsu, it's totally human. I also checked Setsu, totally human. They're like, oh, okay, cool. That means that Xiaoming's going to be the Gnosia. It confirms it. Two people have confirmed the single person is a human. Thus, it means Xiaoming's lying. They are definitely it. So yes, count out. Frozen. I would laugh so hard when she called him out like that. And it sucks because she wasn't even thinking about it. It just was not even thinking about it. Just blurted that out. Well, they said a human. I'm going to do the same thing. Oh, that kind of screws us. I forgot about that. It was too good. I had a big laugh out of that. But yeah, next warp, which apparently they eliminated Shikimichi, which I was kind of hoping they would actually show that whole process as well. What was the reason behind choosing Shikimichi? But yeah, they have a little moment where they're together again. She's upset because she screwed up. And then, yes, realizing that Rashio is going to get them, trying to figure out their next strategy. And yes, Yuri does a pretty bold move in the idea of essentially using Comet's screw up as a benefit. That yes, the fact that she did technically just call somebody out confirmed that Setsu was human, which led for Xiaoming in order to get, outed. And they've confirmed now that Xiaoming is in fact a Gnosia through using the doctor. That yes, why would she call out her own self? Bam. Big brain move by Yuri. Big brain move by Yuri. Which it makes sense. It makes perfect sense. It's like the idea of Comet screwing up that bad. No Gnosia would screw up that bad and get their own people frozen. Enough to essentially get poor SQ. Poor SQ getting frozen. And then, yes, them pretty much eliminating the remaining ones. It was a cool move. It was actually a pretty bold little move there. I think this entire episode was just way super cool. Again, getting that perspective of the Gnosia, and at the same time, seeing how he can kind of weasel himself out of having a pretty horrible partner. Let's be honest. I mean, Comet is super cute. I love her. I love the oob, but she's also a fail girl. But yes, that all leads them to, yes, winning and being alone on the ship. I do love this because I didn't mention it earlier, but I did like catching that first statement that she said, that the two of them will travel together. And Yuri says, yeah, sure, I'll go with you. And she picked up on it. I did see that the moment that she said that. He's like, yeah, sure. She kind of had this little pause in her face. Like, wait, what? You're not telling the truth. And sure enough, right here, she's kind of confirming it. Time to go. Yeah, you're the captain of the ship. Let's go. You're going to go with me, right? You lied to me. She knows that Yuri is not going with her, and she just doesn't know why. I like how she points that out. I can tell if somebody's lying, but I just can't read minds, so I don't know why you're lying to me. And he can't really even tell her. But I love that. I like you, Yuri. Kadunk. You could tell I'm lying, right? Well, I'm going to say how I really feel. I don't like you. I love you. I'm like, damn, Yuri got the best ending, and he's going to have to reset. No, it just showed it like the red eyes with the Gnosia and then just cut off. I'm actually surprised they didn't do another loop because they typically end the episode with the next loop. But I don't know, maybe they just want to leave this one open-ended to the idea of possibly just this is the end. That Yuri gets to be with Comet forever. But no, I was actually surprised they didn't go and let Xiaoming out. He's frozen. They could easily let it. I don't know, maybe the Gnosia, once they're frozen, they die. That's it. There's a thought there. I wonder. But yeah, I would guess that Yuri wouldn't want to let Xiaoming get out because he wants to be alone with Comet. Big brain move. Anyways, yeah, really good episode. Episode 9 of Gnosia. Actually, one of my favorite episodes overall. Just a really cool little insight into Gnosia once again. Seeing what they do during the warps. Again, Comet being a failed Gnosia partner and poor Xiaoming getting thrown on the bus. Poor guy. I love it. It was a lot of fun. So looking forward to episode 10. I'm kind of curious where they'll go to from here. Again, I'm kind of wondering if we might start building into the biggest suspicion that I've had for a while now that sort of gets a little confirmed by how this episode ends. What the hell's this ship doing? I really want to know what the hell this ship's doing. But we'll see. But I hope you guys enjoy this video. As always, if you hit the like button down below, if you like this content, you want to support channel more, become a member. Until next time, y'all take care.